What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It is chaos to come back. It's July 9th when I'm recording this. Throw out the plug right off the bat. I'll start doing live streams. By the time you watch this video, I will have already done one. Thursdays. What is it? I can't even remember. Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. That's 7 to 9 p.m. in the Eastern Time, and whatever it is where you are, figure it out. I think the video where I first announce the live stream is scheduled, because that's tomorrow. The video where I announce it is scheduled to go live tomorrow. What's going on here? And, okay. Yeah, so the one where I announce it tomorrow is scheduled to go live tomorrow on the day that I'm doing it. So I'm actually going to schedule the video at like 8 a.m. I'm sitting here doing it right now. Give me a second. Man, I should have done this before I hit record. Scheduled, save, go back. And okay, so we should be good to go. Tomorrow's video that you're not, this is all out of whack. Once I got on this routine of scheduling videos in advance, it started to make sense because it allows me to put up a video every day. But if I do a live stream for a couple hours a week, then the people who want to know what's going on right now, you can get that side of it. And if you miss the live stream, they're always available to watch again. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I feel like my internet connection should support it. It should be pretty easy to set up. In fact, I should be able to schedule the live stream today and put up some sort of graphic so that it's sitting on my channel and people could know about it. So maybe there'd be a couple of people who join right when I turn it on. But I don't know. I've never done it before. I've been on other people's feeds, but I've never done it myself. So, I mean, it's easy to do. It's just, I don't know what to expect until I do this a couple of times. And today, this week, man, I feel like I look. Now, let's see, good and bad. Let me get the gunk out of my eyes. Whew, the good and bad. The bad is just my body. My body is screaming at me to stop torturing it. Certain days, I just crash and burn. And I guess so. Monday was the bakery day, Tuesday and Wednesday. The 2 days following a hard workout are usually pretty rough. If for whatever reason it's not always like that, but I remember playing soccer, I remember playing other sports. If you really pushed yourself in a workout, for the next 2 days you feel like garbage, and then it starts to feel better. Today, man, I woke up just feeling terrible. Yesterday too. So I gotta figure out, I'm not even losing weight anymore. I ride my bike over 100 miles a week and I'm gaining weight because my appetite's just, everything's out of whack. My whole everything. And it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. But I don't know. I gotta figure this. I gotta get past this. A 25-mile bicycle commute to a job is too far. I feel like I'm trying to think of in my life. I've had jobs where I would bike 12 miles to get there and back, 10, 12 miles. I don't think I've ever had a job where I would ride 25 miles each way to get to work. At any point in my life when I was doing the cycling heavy. I can't even think of a job where, even if I had a vehicle, to where I would ride just for fun if it was that far to go. If it was 10 miles, yes, absolutely. I had a job in downtown Pittsburgh once where, let's say the ride in was like 9 or 10 miles. The ride home was about, around about that. I would take a different route. I would take a fast, dangerous ride into Pittsburgh on one of the, out of all the rides in Pittsburgh that I've done, on all the roads that I've ridden on, that would be just as dangerous as the stuff around Houston, Route 51 in Pittsburgh is pretty bad. And I would take that from out in the suburbs, right at the line where it becomes the suburbs, all the way into the city, because it was fast. It just had this slight downhill slope, because everything in Pittsburgh is super hilly, steep, and there were days I just wanted to crank it and get there. And I would average about 27 miles an hour down Route 51 all the way into the city, just on a slight, very slight, it's mostly flat, but with a slight downhill tilt. A 2-degree slope will generate speed for you if you're already fast. And I would go about 25 to 30 miles an hour the whole way into where Route 51 comes to the end. And from there, it was like a quick shot across the bridge to where I worked. And the nice thing about where I worked is we had a parking garage with a beautiful bike parking area, lockers right next to the bike racks. I had a permanent bike lock on the rack. I had like the heaviest duty kryptonite bike lock that you can possibly buy for like New York City. The thing weighs like 20 pounds. It's so crazy. But I just had that wrapped around the bike lock or the bike rack. So it was always there. I never had to carry a bike lock with me. I could just leave it there permanently. I left it there for over a year. I left it there for months after I stopped working there, just in case I might want to use it. And one day I was just like, I gotta go get my lock. And I went and grabbed it on my way home. Because you could also take the train from where I lived. It was a 5-minute walk to get on the train. And you didn't have to know what time the train was coming because they run every 5 minutes. But I would still ride my bike for fitness. When you walked into the building from where the bike rack was, you were walking into a gym, a full fitness center that was there for the employees that worked in the building. You'd get a key fob from the security desk. I think you paid like $10 a year for the key fob. And so you walk in and you're in a gym. You go around the corner, there's a big like locker room with showers, private bathrooms, like big private bathrooms with showers and a full bathroom. So when I got to work, I made sure I get there on time so that I could just go in. I wouldn't take a shower at home. I'd just get up, get myself dressed and go. Get into my bike gear and go and have everything packed the night before. And I wouldn't do this every day. This was more like a fun few days a week if the weather's nice kind of thing. But when I get there, I could take a shower and actually get ready for work there. And so another thing that I would do is take a stack of clothes with me one day if I'm taking the train, go down to the gym, lock my clothes in a locker for the week. Like 3 days worth of clothes, get it all locked up and put away. Everything that I need to take a shower and all that kind of stuff, and just lock it in a locker and come back. So every morning, all I have to take is like a toolkit, just a basic kit. I could take a small little backpack, go in, take my shower, get ready, have my clothes waiting for me there and all my stuff, and then go up to work. And I could do that 3 times before I'd have to take all my dirty clothes back to the next time I take the train, I would just go down and restock and do all of that, the logistics. So it made it nice because I didn't have to carry 20 pounds of shit on my back. And that was about 10 miles each way. And after work, I would always take the hilly way home. So there would always be at least one massive hill to go up and over to get home. Sometimes more than one, depending on which way I decide to go. But it would be easier on the traffic and easier to deal with that way. Now, I don't hate riding the bike. It's just something about Monday this week. Whew, man, we got a big order, but people were helping me do stock, so I didn't have to do all of it by myself. Just the cream cheese alone, when I stacked up, because we take I don't even know, it's like a total Philadelphia cream cheese, man. They're polluting so much with this. They send us cases of cream cheese. They're the 3-pound blocks that you could buy these at Sam's Club or whatever. But they come in a case. Inside of a case, there's like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 8 blocks of cream cheese in a case. And each block of cream cheese is in its own cardboard container that you have to take it out of, and then it's in a plastic wrapped thing. We had like 17 to 20 cases of cream cheese to stack. By the time I stacked up all the cream cheese out of the cases and took all the cardboard shells off and all that stuff, it looked like I just got done building the Great Wall of China. And it took up a lot. It was crazy, the amount of cream cheese. And boy, if we had a case of bagels, breakfast would have been nice that day. But yeah, it was. But when you're doing cheesecakes, you need a little bit of cream cheese. And so somebody else was helping out with it. So I didn't get the full workout, but that job is a workout no matter what you're doing. There's a lot of standing on your feet for hours, just repetitive motion. Just when you're making hundreds of, you're making hundreds and hundreds of a single type of cookie over and over and over and over and over again. I was making cookie dough. I was doing all kinds of stuff that day. And I was feeling tired when I left. I was about ready to fall asleep when 4:30 came around and it was time to go home. I get on my bicycle and I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it. The whole first half of the ride, my average speed was like 13 miles an hour when it's usually 15 to 16. The other day, Saturday, my average speed was 19 miles an hour. The first half, the first 11 miles, I was ripping it. If I could have kept that pace up for the whole ride, it would have been a fantastic ride. But for some reason, halfway through the ride on Monday, I think it was kind of raining. And by that I mean, so we've got this beef going on. This dude Dave who watches these videos, I said God doesn't want me to get wet when I ride my bike, so he keeps the rain away for me. And Dave was like, he was basically telling me that I'm full of myself. What about all the kids that die from cancer? And I'm like, well, he didn't stop them from dying of cancer, but he took the rain away from me. So maybe he likes me better. Of course, I'm joking, okay? So I'm sure the trolls are going to come out for that one. But I gave Dave a challenge. I said, how about you pray for God to make it rain on me, and I'll pray for God to keep me dry, and we'll see who God likes better. And so yesterday, Monday, I feel like maybe we were having that, maybe Dave was praying for rain for me at the same time I was praying to stay dry, because it was weird. At about 3 p.m, we got a torrential downpour. Horrendous. Some of the downpours that we get are, tropical downpours. And it was raining like crazy. The whole parking lot was turning into a lake, and I'm like, here we go. But the radar showed, I checked my apps, it showed that I should be in the clear by the time I go home. But it just kept kind of going back and forth, and the sun would come out for a minute, then it would start raining again, and then finally I get on my bike and it's sunny and the skies are clear. And I'm like, we're good to go. The roads were fairly dry. Some of the roads here dry really fast. So I wasn't getting wet at all. It was cool. The rain cooled off the air a little bit, so it had a nice feel to it. And I don't know, somewhere on the way it started to sprinkle, and then it stopped, and then it kind of started to sprinkle again, then it stopped, then it started raining, like actual rain, but it wasn't a hard rain. It was like, I would call it a medium sprinkle. I don't know. It was raining, but it was like, it felt good, because I'm already sweaty and wet from sweating all over the place, and it's hot. And so now I've got this water hitting me, and it felt fine. There were some parts on the road where there was water in the road that I had to go around. But the 3-mile stretch of road that people get honking at me and get angry at me on, there were some puddles, and I was taking the middle of the lane because I didn't want to get my feet wet. So it rained pretty good for a while, and I was like, but it wasn't raining enough for me to pull out my cover for my backpack, the rain cover, and I wasn't gonna pull out my raincoat at all because it felt nice. It was nice. But then it would stop, the sun would come out, and it would be all sunny like it never rained. And then it would go back to raining a little bit and sprinkling. And so I feel like maybe Dave was praying for me to get rained on, and I was praying to stay dry. And the forces were clashing because God didn't know who he liked better that night. I don't know. I got a little bit wet. A little bit, but my feet didn't get wet. My feet were dry when I got home. My bike was wet. My phone had enough water drops on my phone that I couldn't do anything on the screen anymore. The screen was all glitched out, and so I don't know. It is what it is. It was a fun ride. I went the second half of the ride, I caught my legs. I would say the second half of my ride had to be averaging 18 to 20 miles an hour because my final average speed was somewhere in the 15 mile an hour range. But the second half of the ride, I was hauling, I was flying. I remember sections I was struggling on Saturday, I was crushing on Monday. And vice versa. I couldn't ride for the first half. I couldn't get my legs spinning under me. For the first half, I was miserable. And then I don't know what happened. I really don't know where the tide turned. Sometimes your body just does that. You find this energy that comes out of nowhere, and you get like a burst of energy. And for So, and an hour and 40-minute ride for the last, let's see, it's a half hour to get there, and then 20 minutes. So 70 minutes into a 90-minute ride. No, that's not right. But half hour plus 20 minutes. Yeah, that's 50 minutes to get there. And then I'm supposed to have 40 more minutes. I don't know. I can't do math today. At some point, like the 12-mile mark, I started to hit my stride and I made good time. All the way home, I had all this energy all of a sudden. It was cool. And, but I'm feeling it today, I'll tell you that. I am feeling way worse this week than last. So I guess that's the only bad thing going on right now. Positive is the place. I'm happy here at this place. The problems here are minor compared to the last place I lived. I'm not getting stressed out from the landlord at all. I'm not, somebody commented because last week I put up a video about how they kept cutting the power off while they were working on another building on the property. And it almost got to the point where I was going to go and ask them how many more times are they going to do this today. But by the time I was done shooting the video, they haven't cut the power since. And that was a week ago, at least. My check cleared for the big rent payment, the rent and a half month's rent for the security deposit. That's all good. It's all under the rug. But I got like nothing left in the bank. It's kind of scary how little. This is the least amount of money I've had in my bank account since the day I moved to Houston. Part of it is because last weekend on Sunday I decided to go to the grocery store and pick up like $50 worth of groceries. But yeah, now I got less than $100 in the bank now. But money's on the way. And in fact, when I woke up this morning, I had an email from the U.S. Postal, informed delivery, that I should see my next paycheck for my freelance work in the mailbox today. So, and it was postmarked on the 5th of July. So the 4th of July wasn't in between. So it'll be here today, maybe tomorrow. I don't really know the pattern at this new place, but I will go and check the mailbox when I feel like the mail may have arrived. And if I see it, I'll probably go on a bike ride tomorrow to take it to the bank and possibly get my hair cut. And the only place near the bank to get my hair cut, there's a barber shop, but I can't tell if they're even open. And then there's there's a place called Sports Clips. And I don't think I want to go to, I'm not opposed to going to Hooters to get my hair cut, but that's what it is. If you see a place called Sports Clips, it's like going to Hooters to get your hair cut. You're just gonna get some girl in a big titty shirt all like this while they're playing sports on a TV screen in front of you. So maybe they'll have the Tour de France on while I'm sitting there getting my hair cut. But it's like going to Hooters to get your hair cut. And they're just a bunch of girls rubbing their tits in your face, hoping that you give them a big tip. And then there's like another, what do you call this one? Great Clips. I guess it's like the Great Clips sounds like the same as Supercuts. And that's probably the cheap. That's right next to the bank too. That might be my jam right there. Just walk in without an appointment and see if I can get my hair cut right when I don't want to go to Hooters to get my hair cut. I really don't. It'll be expensive. Yeah, I get to see some boobies, whatever, but it's just, I just don't want to go there. I don't. I went there one time. They opened one up next door to where I lived, and I went there one time. I didn't know anything about the place. It was just very close to my house compared to where I normally went. So I gave it, I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And I went in and I'm like, when I left, I was like, I just had this weird feeling when I left, like maybe if I would have spent $50 more, I would have got a happy ending or something like that. But I don't know. That place just has it's weird. That's all I got to say. If you've ever been there, you know I'm not lying. So yeah, I don't know if I want to go to Hooters to get my hair cut tomorrow. If it's gonna be tomorrow, I think I might just. There's a barbershop across the road from the bank, but when it's across the road, it's across a major fucking high. It's hard to go across the road, but right there, maybe I could. I don't know. There's a barbershop. They got a website, kinda. Oh, it's not just a haircut, it's an experience. Okay. Okay, they use the standard salon software. What are they? $50. Yeah, 50. I knew it. I knew that would be the case. Yeah, it's $50 to get your hair cut at this place. I knew it would be like that just from looking at a couple of pictures. I don't want to spend $50 to get my hair cut, for fuck's sake. It takes them 15 fucking minutes to do my hair. It would cost like $25 at Supercuts with a $5 tip. And the girl who was cutting my hair at Supercuts, she did a good job. So I don't like going to Supercuts because usually I get a crappy haircut. But I just went there one day in the plaza next to the Target where I used to grocery shop, and the girl did a good job. And I'm like, okay, I'll be back. Because if I find somebody that does a good job cutting my hair, I'll usually just go back to that person. And I liked the haircuts I was getting. But usually I don't. And it's not like my hair is complicated to cut. It's not. It's pretty basic for, it takes them 15 minutes usually to get me in and out. And so it's like, great clips it is, I guess, because it's either if I'm going to pay $50 for a haircut, I'm going to Hooters. Because that's probably what it's going to cost to go to Hooters to get my hair cut here at Sports Clips. And if I'm going to pay $50 to get my hair cut, I want some boobies in my face while she's doing it. I mean, come on, that's $50 to have a guy cut my hair, or $50 to get little boob action in my face while I'm watching sports and drinking a beer. I think I've made my choice if I'm going to spend that much. So I've made my choice. I guess it's going to be great clips. I'm gonna see what happens there, because that'll probably be that can't be $50 to go there, for crying out loud. That's gotta be like the competitor to Supercuts, right? I'm just checking this out here to see. Find a salon. Yeah. I guess that's the one. It looks about right. Okay. And it don't say what it costs, but here, if I go to this place, if I go to like whatever this is, Supercuts, almost Supercuts or whatever, if this place is expensive, then it's going to be Hooters next time. Because if I'm paying that much, I'm getting a titty in the face. That's all that matters. So, $50, fuck. Better get something out of it. Anyhow, let's see what else is going on. Obama phone, no mo, Obama phone. They've been sending me emails and text messages for months now. When Elon Musk, I think it was kind of ironic that when Elon Musk took over the government for a bit, all of a sudden I got messages saying, you have been selected to be recertified for your Obama phone, and I would have had to submit all this paperwork and shit about how much money I don't have and this and that and the other thing. And I don't really use the Obama phone. It's kind of there as a backup. I use it as a security camera for my place. When I leave in the morning, I just put it on a camera tripod and I set it somewhere with a power cord going into it. I turn on the camera app, the security camera app, and then I can check throughout the day to see if my stuff is still here. And if somebody were to come in my place, like the old landlord used to all the time, I'd get a notification about it and it would be on video. And so it's never happened since I moved in here. One day, right after I moved in, they came in to do some work, but they told me the day before they were going to do it, so I didn't even care. And they never even went past the kitchen that day. So I would have, they came in, they did some work for the stove, they had to replace or do something for the 220 outlet for the stove, the oven, and they were in and out, and that's all they did. That's the only time, and they gave me 24 hours notice. So I don't feel like I have a nosy asshole landlord who's just gonna come walking in anytime he fucking feels like it without telling me when I'm gone. But I'll still put a camera up. I do feel more secure here than I did in my old place. But I was getting these Obama phone emails for months now, saying and sometimes I would get 8 emails in a span of 2 hours trying to get me to come back, and I would have had to do a lot of crap. And I looked up what income level I would need to be at in order to get one, and even though I make less than 25 large, I make too much to get it, according to and I'm like, this isn't even worth my time. So I'll just keep it until they turn it off. And I got an email, I think it may have been yesterday, I got an email saying, your account has been deactivated. Adam, we are reaching out to inform you that our Lifeline service with Excess Telecom, powered by IM Telecom, has been de-enrolled by USAC due to failed recertification. As a result, your Lifeline benefits have been discontinued. I haven't even checked to see if I can use the phone. But, a lot of you who don't like my freeloading and my, mooching off the government and, all of my begging by telling people to go donate money at donate.litgood.com and all that kind of stuff, you'll all be happy to know that you're no longer fronting me to have a second phone. It's over. It's over. And it was a terrible phone. Honestly, it's the worst phone I've ever held in my hand. A flip phone would have been better than this thing. But the things that I never really used it as a phone. A couple of times I used it at the homeless shelter when I plugged in my regular phone to charge. I would use the Obama phone to, browse the internet, but it was super, super slow. It was terrible. But I would just, read the news and stuff like that on that phone while this one was charging, and I didn't have it in my hand and I was bored. I would keep the Obama phone hidden and charged fully at all times. I'd keep it hidden in my computer bag with the Find My Phone app turned on. So it was kind of like a ghetto air tag. So if my bag were to get stolen somehow, if there was one time I left my bag sitting in the post office and left, And I was almost all the way back to the library when I realized it. And I'm like, oh my God, that was so stupid. And I went running back to the post office. And my bag was still there, but I could have checked. I didn't even want to take the time to pull out my phone and check. I just ran to the post office to make sure to get it. And it was still there. Nobody touched it. It was kind of off in an area where people don't even really go. But I would have been able to find out if the bag wasn't there. I would have been able to pull out my phone and see where it was going. And there was a couple other times where I had to leave my bag somewhere questionable, like at the social services office, and I'd be upstairs in one of their offices waiting to get my name called, and I'd just look and I'd be like, yeah, my bag's still there. You could think, with the GPS coordinate would even show the corner of the building that it was in. And so I'm like, okay, that was a kind of, and then I used it for a security camera here, in both of these places. And I can still use the phone as a security camera because it connects to the Wi-Fi. But when I have my Obama phone service, if my power went out, the phone and the camera would still work as long as the battery was functional, because the phone would just connect to T-Mobile's cell network, and I would still be getting notifications if somebody came into my house, even if the power was out. So now, if the power goes out and there's no Wi-Fi, the phone won't be able to tell me what's going on. But that's, that's okay. No more Obama phone. It's over. So yeah, yesterday I was out of it. I'm still out of it. The Tour de France. I'm behind on I'm so far out of it that I can't even sit in a chair and watch the Tour de France. And I can't keep up with the Tour de France sitting in an armchair watching it on TV. I'm about a stage behind now. They're finishing up stage 5 today. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, they're finishing up stage 5 right now, actually. It's like 11:45 a.m. right now. They're finishing stage 5 today, and I just started watching stage 4 this morning because I couldn't get into it last night. I fell asleep Monday night early, and I fell behind on my Tour de France. But they'll have a rest day coming up, and I'll just get caught up then. But I like watching the whole race, and I don't look at the news. I don't want to know who won today. I'll figure it out when I get there. If I get to the last day and it takes me it's like watching my videos on YouTube, right? If the Tour de France ends on the 27th of July, which that's when it ends, but I don't figure out who won until August 1st, so be it. So be it. I'm not going to look at the news. I'm going to try not to look. After the last day, if I don't watch it live on the last day, the news, it'll be all over the news who won. Especially in the news feeds I see. If I log into YouTube, it's going to be right there. In the feed, it'll just be a headline, so-and-so wins, Pogacar wins again, boom, it's, okay, shit. But otherwise, I don't want to know. I just want to watch it and pretend I'm watching it live. But you got to get up at 5 in the morning if you want to watch it live and sit there until 11 in the morning. I could put it on and work. Like if I get caught up tonight on or if I get caught up on the rest day the next day, if I'm home, I can get up at 5 in the morning and watch it and sit and work while I'm watching the live feed. But anyway, I was watching it yesterday, and one of the commentators, his name is Christian Vande Velde, and he's riding around on a motorcycle with the race every day doing commentary for the NBC. Now, Christian Vande Velde is another cyclist that was on Lance Armstrong's team and cheated his way through the Tour de France, and he won stages, and he's got cred as a world-class cyclist. like Lance Armstrong and his whole team are on this comeback tour now. Everybody's cool. Everybody's cool. Lance Armstrong's got a deal where he's doing, Lance Armstrong's going to be the fucking announcer for the Tour de France here in a couple of years. That's going to be a slap in the face, except I don't know if he's allowed to go to France. I don't think he's allowed. If he goes to France, they'll arrest him and put him in prison for cheating, because that's a crime to cheat in that bike race in France. But I don't know if he can safely go to France and be like the NBC or whoever takes it over, if he can be the announcer. And after Phil Liggett finally can't do it anymore, who's been doing it since like the 80s. I don't know. Phil Liggett has been the cycling announcer for every bike race since before I was born. He's the voice of cycling. You know the voice. If you ever watched a bike race on TV, it's him. And when he's no longer doing it, I could see Lance Armstrong being the guy to take over at this point. But because they're giving him his comeback tour now. They're like sweeping that shit under the rug and nobody gives a fuck anymore. Like he's turning back into a kind of hero again. And so when do I get my comeback tour? Like, how many years do I gotta stay in timeout before they're like, okay, we can let Adam work again. We can let Adam see his kids again. We get it. Adam's a good guy. Let's just forget and forgive and all that, Lance Armstrong, how long has it been since he got put in timeout? It's been a while, but he's on his comeback tour now. I just don't know if he can legally go to France without getting the handcuffs clapped on him when he gets off the plane. That's a big possibility. I remember they were talking about that back in the day when he admitted that he cheated and they took the tours away from him, and they basically said for those 7 years nobody won the Tour de France, because even they'd have to, the 57th place guy or the 120th place rider would be the first one that didn't do dope and cheat. So they wouldn't be able to figure out who actually won if they went back and tried to fit. That's why they're like, well, fuck it, nobody won that year. And the only reason they took it away from him was because Lance Armstrong's a fucking dickhead. And he was acting like a total douchebag to people. An arrogant, full of himself douchebag, where all the other people that cheat to win the Tour de France, they keep their head down. They keep on the down low. And they walk around with a little bit of humbleness and humility. And they get, and that's why, like Miguel Indurain from Spain, he won 5 years in a row. And it was right at the time that Greg LeMond said everybody started doing the dope. And this guy wins 5 years in a row. And it's the same story as Lance Armstrong, just he spoke Spanish. And even Lance Armstrong was like, I can't keep up with this fucking guy. And Lance Armstrong was all doped up and couldn't keep up with the fucking guy. And so Miguel Indurain, Nobody took his Tour de France away. All 5 of them, he still kept them. Because he kept his head down. He kept his mouth shut. He disappeared off into the sunset with all his money and his trophies and everything else he got out of it, and laid low and stayed humble. And they're like, all right, we'll look the other way. Lance Armstrong went off the rails. And he was so full of himself, he thought he could do no wrong. And they're like, all right, so Floyd Landis got pinched after he won the Tour de France, and they took it away. And Floyd was like, well, Lance told me to do it. And it all came crashing down. And man, such a funny sport. But one of the comments that Van de Velde made yesterday was something about, they were talking about going on a bike ride and power ratings, watts, like you can measure the number of watts of power that you put into your bicycle if you have if you have a device on your bike called a power meter that will actually measure the amount of power that you're putting into your pedal strokes. And Vandeveld was like, well, 100 to 160 watts, that's nothing. Because these guys ride at like 400 watts, and that's what they were talking about. He's like, 100 to 160 watts, that's nothing. That's like a rest and recovery day for these guys. That's just going out and spinning the pedals and going on a Sunday afternoon bike ride. And I'm just laughing because I don't have a power meter, but my app will estimate what it thinks that I'm putting out. And it thinks that I'm putting out about 120 to 150 watts on my hardest bike rides right now. And it makes sense because, you know, the tour riders do 25 miles in 50 minutes, and it takes me an hour 37 to go the same distance on flat land. So, I don't know, man. But the race is so much different these days. Back in the day, the first Tour de France was only 5 days, 5 stages. The first Tour de France was 5 stages instead of like 22 stages, but it was 500K per stage, which is 311 miles per stage. So they had to ride 311 miles 5 times in the original Tour de France. And the guy who won it, his name was Maurice Gourmand, and he was a chain-smoking chimney sweep who decided to get into the bike race, and then he got caught cheating. I think he was the one who he hopped on a train to go around a mountain he was supposed to go up and over, and instead he got on a train and went around the mountain and kept on his merry way, and it took weeks after the tour or whatever before they caught him and figured it out and took his victory away. So they've been, the very first Tour de France, they've been cheating in that race since the day it began. They cheat. You watch them cheat if you're watching TV. When they go back to the team car to get food or to get their bikes looked at or whatever, they sit behind the cars and in the car's draft, and then the team cars will help them get back up to the peloton. And the race officials will blow their whistle and wave at them to get out of the slipstream of the cars because they're not supposed to do that. But they don't penalize. It's you would have to be very blatantly, like, it would have to cross a certain line before they would actually give you a time penalty or an actual cheating penalty for doing it. Another thing that they do, you'll watch, if you ever watch somebody hand a bike racer the water bottle, they'll hand out the water bottle, the racer will grab onto the bottle like this and grab on real tight, and then the driver of the car will floor it and gas up the car and get going really fast, and then the cyclist will push off the driver's hand with his water bottle in hand, but he just got like a 25 mile an hour speed boost from the car, sending him like a slingshot back into the peloton. And they do this, all of them do it. They go back to get a power bar or a fucking Cliff Bar or some shit. They grab onto the driver's hand and get a fucking pull all the way. They get pulled back in. It's really not a big deal. If you were in this bike race, if you understand bike racing, it's really not that big of a deal, but they're not supposed to do that shit. But they all do it. All of them do it. And they could get penalized. We did have some penalties in stage 3. I got more to say about that. Remember I was talking about how their uniforms cost $1,000, just their fucking shorts and their outfit and all that stuff. They carry a rain bag. They each have the exact same rain bag, but there'll be a different color for each rider in the team car. There's 8 riders per team. So they all have this bag that has like all their rain clothes, an extra pair of shoes, extra socks, extra clothing, jackets, things like that. And they're all packed the exact same way so that the person in the car who's helping out, you know, the passenger seat guy who grabs all the shit, can grab whatever they need out of their bag for them. And this bag, the shoes, the raincoats, and all the different things, they said on the broadcast that the stuff in that bag costs $3,000 if you were to buy it yourself. And it's not a big bag. It's just like a pair of shoes and some clothes, some extra clothes. $3,000 for your rain bag. And $1,000 for the clothes that you're wearing. So you're looking at $4,000 worth of clothing just to race in that race. I mean, it wasn't like this way back in the day. Greg LeMond, when he raced, helmets weren't even mandatory. You got all these videos. Watch the older videos of Greg LeMond winning the Tour de France. Sometimes he'd wear a fucking hat. They didn't even wear a fucking helmet. Like, balls of steel back then, man. Going down a fucking mountain and those bikes were not the same bikes as we have today. They were nice bikes. If you rode one of those bikes today, it would still be a nice bike. But those bikes going flying down some of these mountains in the Alps at 60, 70 miles an hour, and you're not even wearing a helmet. You might be wearing a hat. You might be wearing a hat. Like, it was just so much better back in the day. I used to like watching it a hell of a lot more when I was younger, and it was more dangerous and whatnot. I don't care about the cheating. I don't. I think it's hilarious. I would do it. Christian Vande Velde pulled over to the side of the road for all the racers to go by, and the helicopter was hovering above him and watching. So like 30 or 40 of the cyclists stopped and took a piss on the side of the road right in front of him with the cameras on. Like, they did it on purpose. Because you're riding 130 miles in a race. So you're drinking all that water, you're gonna have to take a piss. So you're allowed to just pull over to the side of the road, whip it out, and take a piss. Plus you're in France. Everybody who tells me they go to France, guys just pee anywhere. You could just fucking be walking down the street and be like, hold on a second, zip, piss on the fucking sidewalk and be like, zip, okay, I'm good, let's go. You're just not supposed to show your dong to the public. But they don't care. They'll just pull over to the side of the fucking road, whip it out, take a piss right there. They don't even like look for a tree. Like, I would want to have like a tree or something to just give me a little bit of privacy, like just kind of feel like I'm in nature's urinal or something like that. Some of these guys ain't give a fuck. They pulled out right in front of the fucking NBC camera and they're like, ding, taking a piss on the side of the road, like 30 of them. They all decided to take a piss break right there. And there is like strategy about when you take your piss break, because you could be pulled over to the side with your wang hanging out, and somebody up front decides to gas it, and all of a sudden you're like, shit, you got to get back on your bike and ride back up to that shit and get back in the game. And you may not have even been able to finish, you know. So I don't know, man. Why not just pee your pants? I mean, Joe Biden used to do it all the time when he was president. I don't know, maybe you can pee. I mean, you've got these pads in your cycling shorts. I mean, I bet some of them do pee their pants. I bet some of them, you get close to the end of the race and you just can't hold it anymore. You're like, fuck it. Warm yourself up for the rest of the ride. You're going to be all sweaty and everything anyway. Maybe you can splash the riders behind you that you don't like, or at least put off a strong odor, and then people won't want to be next to you, and you'll get a little more space to yourself in the peloton. It could probably work out to your advantage. But it's a crazy race, man. The guy who won the yellow jersey on the first day, his name was Philipsen. He got the green jersey for the sprint on day two. So he wasn't in the lead of the Tour de France anymore, but he was in the green jersey, which means he's the fastest sprinter. So on day 3, they came to the intermediate sprint where halfway through the race there's a line, and the first sprinter across that line halfway through the race gets points for that green jersey. So they were all fighting it out for the green jersey, and this one rider these two riders started bumping elbows and bumping into each other, and the one dude lost control, swerved right across the road into the front wheel of the guy in the green jersey. Boom, on the ground he went. The guy who plowed into him somehow didn't fall off his bike, got back on and kept going. But the guy in the green jersey flipped over, smashed his shoulder and head on the ground, broke his collarbone right there, done, out of the race. So the leader of the Tour de France on day 1, green jersey on day 2, on day 3, he's out of the race. He went to the hospital and had to get surgery and have his collarbone put back together. Done, finished, he's done for the season. The 2 riders that were duking it out and shoulder checking each other and trying to push each other out of the way, riding dirty. And it's hard, it's just the way it is. It's hard to know whether people are doing it on purpose or it's just in the heat of the moment kind of shit, because there's just so much shit going on that I don't think anybody does it on purpose, because if you start bumping into people and start shoulder checking people and elbowing people, there's a good chance you're going to go over your handlebars. It might not work out for you, is all I'm saying. It's not, you're risking your own safety if you start pulling that shit. But these 2, if you watch the video, it looks like they were duking it out a little bit. And so the 2 riders that got into their little shoving match and sent the one guy into that guy's wheel and flipped him over, they were the first 2 riders, I believe, to get yellow cards in the Tour de France. But it's like that. The dude was in the lead of the Tour de France on day 1. He had the green jersey, and then boom, he's gone home for the season. It's over. That quick. When I broke my arm in St. Louis riding my mountain bike, a brand spanking new mountain bike I had just bought 2 days ago, put it on the back of my Jeep, and this is the first time I took the bike off the rack and decided to go ride around. I had my camera backpack. I was going to go take some sunset pictures. I rode 3 blocks, got off the bike, took out my Allen wrench and adjusted the seat height because it was a little bit too low. And then I rode across the street and hit a curb at a weird angle that sent me over the handlebars, and I put my arm out to catch my fall, broke my fucking elbow. As soon as it was that fast. As soon as I got up off the ground, I knew something was wrong. I didn't know I broke my arm. I waited 8 weeks to see a doctor, and they're like, yeah, you broke that shit. But when you break your arm, when you break a bone in the elbow joint, all the ligaments and muscles in that joint will hold everything together. It's not like you broke it in the middle of your arm. But it felt like something was majorly wrong when I did that. But it happens that fast. And it wasn't even like I was doing anything crazy. I was going to go out to Utah and go mountain biking on some crazy trails. And a fucking curb in St. Louis at 4 miles an hour was what did me in. And I've never broken a bone before that I'm aware of. I may have broke my elbow one other time because the pain of this crash and the recovery was similar to a crash that I had in the past on a mountain bike. And in hindsight, I may have broke my arm back then too. So this may have been twice that I broke my arm. But the first time I never went to a doctor. I just nursed it back to health on myself. And it took the whole season to rehab my arm, but I got it back. And it was fine, and I never had any more pain. But yeah, it's like that with the it's that fast, unexpected. On my bike rides to and from the bakery, that is in my mind. I don't dwell on it, but I know that a split second can be the difference between making a living and being homeless again because I broke my arm and I can't work anymore and I can't ride my bike and I can't get anywhere and I don't have a car, and a broken arm would kill me right now. Broken bones would destroy my life right now. I wouldn't even be able to afford to go to the doctor to get it fixed. So I'm aware of that, and I definitely don't ride with a level of aggression to where, I haven't even fallen off a bike since I got to Houston and started riding a bike again. I'm careful. I'm not going balls to the wall. I don't like, if I'm on a downhill, if there were hills here and there were hills that I could really like lay it down, like Pittsburgh, there are hills around that area that you could get going 60 miles an hour down. I wouldn't. I would just lay low. I wouldn't want to. If I had that kind of capability around here with the hills, if there were hills like that around here, I wouldn't do it. For the sake of, I can't afford that right now. I'm riding to get from point A to B, and I have, I will put some effort into my speed and try to maintain a high pace for fitness reasons, but I'm not going to push it over the edge to where I'm risking getting killed or hurt. Sometimes but it doesn't take much. It doesn't take just one lapse of judgment, one person on the opposite side of the trail or the road, or a car hitting me, or who knows what. It could be over in the blink of an eye. And you're always aware of that. And in the Tour de France, you could be in the lead. You could be wearing the yellow jersey into Paris on the last day, and someone could take you out and game over. You break your collarbone, and you could be a mile from the finish line to winning the fucking Tour de France, and someone could take you out, break your collarbone, and it's over on the last day. You're drinking champagne out of a fucking champagne bottle that you're passing around to the other riders, and someone gets fucking ripped, drunk, and just plows right into you and takes you out, and it's game. End of the day, it's over. But they gave out these yellow cards. They're doing that now, where if people get out of line, they're handing out yellow cards like a soccer game now. And this is a new thing this year in the Tour de France. And you get 2 yellow cards and you're disqualified from the race. And there's other penalties and fines that go with it. And it's just like soccer. They're trying to cool off some of the stuff that goes on. But I don't know. So if I could ever race in the Tour de France and I can't get a yellow jersey, I'm sure I could get myself a yellow card at least. I could bring a yellow card home to hang on the wall. Look what I got. I got 2 of these things. Boom, boom. And I got to go home early. So, but on top of that, the team whose rider took out the green jersey rider, the team had almost all of their bikes get stolen after the first night of the race. Their bikes all got stolen. Like $150,000 worth of bicycles stolen. At first I thought 8 bikes, that's like $19,000 per bike. I mean, each rider has a GPS tag attached to the back of their bike that you can see when they're riding it on their seat post. Maybe they should just leave those attached when they're done racing for the day to see where their bikes end up. Or maybe they should have hid an air tag in there somewhere, but they're so weight conscious that the weight of an air tag hidden somewhere inside of a bike frame would be considered too much. And there's probably some bullshit rule about having a GPS tracker on your fucking bike. I don't know, but nobody's expecting the Tour de France bikes to get stolen. But, I mean, what the fuck? Were they parked in the ghetto at the end of the race or something? Like, how did they get their bikes stolen? How did you steal that many fucking bikes? So, on the second day, all the riders on that team were on their spare bikes, their second bike. Because they all have spare bikes. That some of the team members have multiple bikes. The water bottle fetchers and the guys that are there to, like, you know, the water boys, they get probably 2 bikes, but the team leader might have 4 or 5 bikes. They have tons of bikes. I'm sure the sponsor sent over brand new bikes to replace the ones that were stolen, and they know all of the specs for every rider, So they know exactly what height to put the seat, they know what components, they know all the different things that they would have to do for each individual rider. So I'm assuming the sponsor hurried up and got a bunch of new bikes over to the team. But I mean, those bikes are really hard to work on. And so those mechanics had double duty this week. Those bicycles are the hardest bicycles of all time to work on. They've gotten so ridiculously complicated that I would be nervous about working on a bike like that until I got used to all the ins and outs of how everything works. I mean, I'm sure they're well designed and, with the right tools. It's all about having the right tools. But they said they recovered 5 of the, so 11 bikes got stolen, they said, and 5 of them were recovered. So maybe they were like $14,000 each. I don't know. But whoever stole them hid them in the woods somewhere. And they were probably going to come back to try to get the remaining 5. But the cops found the 5 bikes before the people who stole the bikes could come back and get them. And they have like special bikes. So if somebody's on, like one guy on the one team that they expected to get the guy who got the yellow jersey on the first day, when he wore the yellow jersey on day 2, because he's in the lead of the tour, he was on a yellow bike, a bright yellow bike. So they had a yellow bicycle set aside just for him. So one of his spare bikes was a yellow bike, just in case he was wearing the yellow jersey, he would get to ride a yellow bike. So they have multiple bikes. They have time trial bikes for the time trial stages that are totally different than the bikes they ride on the daily basis. Whenever they're in the mountains, they'll have a special bike for climbing hills that's different than the other bikes. They're always changing gear ratios. Their mechanics are busy. They're always doing shit to these bikes. It's just like a pit crew for a Formula One race. They're where they might change an engine in the middle of the race. I mean, the driver's not going to win the race at that point, but they're trying to get points at that point. One of the bikes that got stolen was a polka dot bike, red polka dots with a white bike frame with red polka dots on it, because the rider had gotten the polka dot jersey the day before for being the king of the mountains, and he had to ride his regular bike, but he had a polka dot bike waiting for him. If he was wearing the polka dot jersey, he would have been on a polka dot bike. So they have special bikes in the team bike collection just for special occasions like that. And the sponsor said that if they can't recover so somebody stole the special edition Tour de France polka dot King of the Mountains bike for this guy. That was his personal polka dot jersey bike for riding on that second day when he was in that polka dot jersey. Someone stole that shit. So if that thing shows up on Craigslist or Le Craigslist or whatever the fuck they got over there in France, it's going to be pretty damn obvious where that bike came from. Like, nobody's going to be wanting to ride that fucking bike around town, not without giving it a new paint job. That thing's not going to be showing up on eBay anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. But the sponsor says if they don't recover the bike, they're going to paint one just for him with the same paint job and send it to him to have hanging up in his home as a souvenir when he's done racing in the tour. So they just pass these bikes around like fucking candy on Halloween. But these things, they're not cheap, but they may not be as expensive as what I was thinking even. I was thinking that they were going to be like 30 grand a piece by now. But I looked up. There's a website called Archie Newsy, and they had the best article on how much these bicycles cost. And I'm just going to read some parts of this article. First of all, it's the surprisingly accessible entry point, the budget-friendly pro bike. It's a common misconception that all bikes ridden in the Tour de France are astronomically expensive. In reality, there's a surprisingly affordable option available to consumers. Currently, the Cube Lightning C68X Pro, ridden by the Intermarché Wanty team, represents the most accessible tour-level bike for US riders, coming in around $8,500. This price point is remarkable considering the componentry. It boasts a full Shimano Dura-Ace Di2 electronic group set, complete with a power meter for precise performance data, Newman Stream carbon wheels, known for their aerodynamic efficiency, and a full carbon cockpit further enhance the bike's capabilities. Even the inner tubes are upgraded to lightweight TPU, which is thermoplastic polyurethane, for reduced rolling resistance. They weigh a lot less. Though accessibility is somewhat limited, as Cube primarily distributes through dealers concentrated on the west coast of the United States, this price point is particularly fascinating when considering the broader cycling market. In 2023, the average price of a road bike sold in the US was around $2,000. According to the National Bicycle Dealers Association, the Cube Lightning C68X Pro, while still a notable investment, demonstrates that professional level performance isn't exclusively reserved for the ultra wealthy. So if you want to ride the bicycle that the shittiest team in the Tour de France rides, you can probably afford it, especially if you live in the woodlands here in Houston. You can afford that. High-end hierarchy where the costs skyrocket. On the opposite end of the spectrum lie the bikes that truly push the boundaries of price and technology. Teams like Ineos Grenadiers, they ride a Pinarello Dogma X, Jumbo Visma, which ride the Cervelo Caledonia 5, and UAE Team Emirates, Colnago V4Rs, or Colnago V4Rs, consistently field bikes that can easily exceed $15,000 and frequently enough climb well beyond $20,000. These bikes aren't just about premium components. They represent years of research and development utilizing advanced materials like ultra-high modulus carbon fiber, elegant aerodynamic shaping honed in wind tunnels, and proprietary technologies designed to minimize weight and maximize power transfer, such as the Pinarello Dogma X, favored by Ineos Grenadiers, features a new unique bull-eyed fork designed to reduce drag and help improve handling. Jumbo Visma's Cervelo Caledonia 5 incorporates a highly engineered frame designed for both aerodynamic efficiency and rider comfort over long distances. So boom, that's the one I want right there, comfort over long distances. The Cervelo Caledonia 5 costs anywhere from $3,500 to $11,000, and that probably just depends on what components you want stocked with it. Moreover, these teams frequently enough collaborate closely with component manufacturers, and they develop custom parts, from specialized chain rings to uniquely tuned suspension systems, further driving up the cost. The pursuit of marginal gains is relentless, and every component is scrutinized for its potential to shave seconds off of a rider's time. Like these guys, they might replace the stock saddle, the seat, with a full carbon saddle with carbon rails that cost, $500 to $1,000 just for a saddle. And they'll toss the $300 to $500 saddle off in the trash. Because, I'm too good for that. They may do that just to save 20 grams. The only time you're going to spend this much energy and money to squeeze out another 20 grams is if you're selling meth or cocaine for a living. But these bike riders, that's important to them too. But does the price equal performance? The question of whether a more expensive bike is better is surprisingly complex. While a $20,000 bike undoubtedly incorporates cutting-edge technology and premium materials, the performance difference compared to an $8,500 bike isn't necessarily proportional to the price gap. Here's where the diminishing returns principle comes into play. The jump from a basic aluminum bike to a carbon fiber frame with Shimano 105 components yields a significant performance advancement. However, the gains from upgrading from Dura-Ace Di2 to a bespoke ultra lightweight carbon frame with custom components is far more incremental. So, like for example, my Silver Bullet, the Silver Specialized that I ride, it's a basic aluminum road bike, and it has Shimano 105 components, which is the low end. It goes 105 Ultegra or 600, 105, 600 Ultegra, and Dura-Ace. Those are the three levels of Shimano components that they come out with every year, and those brand names have stuck for decades. Three levels of components. I've got the low end. They're good. It's good quality stuff. It's not Dura-Ace. Dura-Ace, my Red Rocket has XTR, which is the highest end mountain bike components that on mountain bikes it goes LX, XT, XTR from Shimano. At least that's how it was. I don't know if it's still the same. But my Red Rocket is outfitted with XTR components that were manufactured in 1994 and 1995. Here it's 2025 and I'm still riding with them and there's no problems. So it just tells you that the quality of the stuff is phenomenal, and it will far outlast the Tour de France that it's being ridden in. You know what I mean? Like these components will go forever. But a jump from my bike, the Silver Bullet, to the cheapest bike in the Tour de France would be huge for me, significant for me. My speed and my times riding back and forth to work would be quite noticeable and quite profound. I wouldn't be going at Tour de France speeds doing I wouldn't be doing 25 miles in 50 minutes. But I would probably be able to do it in an hour 15, an hour 20 on a bike like that. I could probably shave 20 minutes off of my time by spending $9,000 for a bicycle. Maybe. But it would be significant. It would be a huge difference in speed. You'd notice it right away. The speed difference between the Silver Bullet and the Red Rocket that I ride right now are significant. All of my fastest times going to and from the bakery are on that Silver Bullet, and I don't have that many miles on that bike. I don't even think I've put 1,000 miles on that bike yet since I've owned it, and I've already broken all of my fastest times that I set with the Red Rocket. I'm getting faster. I've been riding the Red Rocket exclusively for the last 2 weeks, and my times have been getting faster. But I haven't really beat the times I set on the Silver Bullet. So if I get on that Silver Bullet after I get around to changing brake pads and doing some maintenance so that both bikes are ready to rock, and I get on that Silver Bullet and I'm feeling good, I might be able to get my time down to an hour and a half from an hour 37 minutes. I might be able to shave 7 minutes off my time because I changed bicycles. That's totally possible. It all depends on how I feel on any particular day, and as long as nothing goes wrong and whatnot. But the Silver Bullet is so much faster than that Red Rocket. It feels fast. When I'm riding it, I feel faster. I don't even have a speedometer on the bike. I don't have that stuff. I haven't done anything like that yet to it. I want to have some basic things like that, but at least a speedometer in front of me so I can tell my speed. But for now, it's significantly faster riding that bike. The one thing I could do is put on, I have a GPS wristwatch and I could strap it to the handlebars of the Silver Bullet. There's probably, I might have to get like a piece of foam or something to put around it, but I probably could do it quickly and easily in the morning and then just use that as a speedometer. And it would tell me everything I want to know. And I'm pretty sure, but I even without looking, like there's a psychological thing that when you don't know how fast you're going and you're just on the bike and enjoying it and going the speed you feel like going and not paying attention to any readouts or data, sometimes that has an effect on you to go faster, because you're not. And then it kind of works the other way too. Like sometimes having all that in front of you helps you keep your speed up. But anyway, the Silver Bullet's faster, no doubt about it. It's significantly faster than the Red Rocket, but it's more dainty. There's more potential to have problems. I would say that's more likely to get a flat tire, even though I haven't had one yet. And I don't think I would trust that ride to. I wouldn't have a reason to, but I really wouldn't trust that bike yet to go on like a 1,000-mile ride. I don't think it would be comfortable enough. The Red Rocket, I've taken that on so many long rides that I have it dialed into where I'm very comfortable on it and my hands don't go numb and I don't have certain problems that I'm having on the Specialized right now. I think I need new handlebars to fix the problem that I'm having with my hands going numb. But it's only 25-mile rides that I'm doing on it, so I'm not in that big of a hurry to do that kind of stuff yet. So an $8,500 road racing bike that weighs like, 13 pounds or something like that would be a bigger drop in my time. No doubt about it. Aerodynamics, everything. So, if anybody wants to help me get my hands on one of those, my digital chicken bucket is donate.litgood.com, or if Cervelo wants to just give me a bike and sponsor my bakery bicycle rides, by all means, hook a brother up. I'll give it a review. It may not be a good review, but I'll break out my GoPro cameras for that and do a bunch of comparison videos just to prove how much could riding a nice bicycle, like could you put a fat, out of shape douchebag who's almost 50 years old on a Tour de France worthy bicycle, and could I compete at a level that, let's just say I'll take all three bicycles, right? Now this is just hypothetically speaking, but if Cervelo wanted to, or even Cube, if Cube wants to send me their $8,500 basic bitch Tour de France bike, that, the cheapest bike in the tour, I'll ride the Red Rocket to and from work for, for 2 weeks. I'll do 2 weeks on the Red Rocket, going as fast as I can, as hard as I possibly can, to the bakery, back from the bakery for 2 weeks. So that's 200 miles roundabout. That's almost 200 miles on the same bike, and I'll take the exact same route. I won't deviate at all. I'll take the exact same route for every single ride without any deviation at all. The exact same streets, the exact same ride. And so I'll do that for 2 weeks. It'll all be in Strava. Here's how fast each ride was. Here's the cumulative distance. Here's the average speed. It'll probably be somewhere around 15 miles an hour. Then I'll do the same thing on the Silver Bullet. I'll take the Silver Bullet, 2 weeks, 200 miles. Exact same route, going all out as hard as I can. Same scenario each time I ride. Same setup, same route, same everything. As much equal as I can make it. Weather is unpredictable, wind is unpredictable. So that's why I'd have to do it for 2 weeks and go 4 times. out and back, out and back, out and back, out and back. So that's 4 rides for each direction. That'll give you a decent comparison, and compare the average speeds and times from the Silver Bullet to the Red Rocket. See if there's a difference. There will be. I'll probably get 16, 17 mile an hour average speed if I'm going all out on the Silver Bullet. Then get on the cheap ass Tour de France bike, the $8,500 bike if that's what it is. Do the same ride, out and back, out and back, out and back, out and back. Let's see if I can break 20 mile an hour for an average speed on a bike like that. So yeah, if anybody knows somebody who knows somebody, say, hey, this would be a good experiment for your bike. What can this $8,000, $9,000 bike do for a washed up old fat piece of shit? Can it make him faster? Can it make him fast enough to compete with the big boys? Probably not, but can it make me significantly faster than riding the bikes I already ride, which are decent bikes? So that might be a fun experiment. But the biggest performance differentiator isn't the bike, it's the rider. So a highly trained professional cyclist can achieve exceptional results on a well-maintained, properly fitted $8,500 bike. It's the rider's power output, skill, and tactical awareness that's way more crucial than marginal aerodynamic advantages offered by the $20,000 racing machine. But the high-end bikes do offer some advantages, particularly in specific scenarios. They're often lighter, which is crucial when you're going up steep climbs. I have gained 20 pounds since I got out of prison. Now, I know for a fact what the difference in weight on my body makes going on bike rides. I carry a 16-pound, right now my backpack, the last few times I've weighed it, it's about 16 pounds. I hate carrying that thing. I feel the weight when I'm carrying it around, but let's just say if I lose 16 pounds, that's the weight of my backpack that I'm losing. So that should make me, if I could take off my backpack and see how fast I can do this ride without carrying that with me, that's the same equivalent power and speed gain that I would get from losing 16 pounds off my beer belly in the front. It would have the same effect. I lost 40 pounds when I was in federal prison, and I've gained 20 of it back. Generally speaking, ever since I moved to Houston, I've been sitting at about 220 pounds. I go down to about 214, up to 224, back down, up, down, up, down. But that's where I've been locked for months. Because my body somehow figures out how much food I can eat to keep my weight exactly in that range. The main reason I got down to 200 pounds when I was in prison was because they were starving us, and because I worked out every single day, and I worked out hard. And so the weight was coming off 2 to 5 pounds a week. And I was writing down my weight every single day, and so I was paying very close attention to it. But aerodynamics on the bicycles, it's a measurable benefit on flat stages that are fast and in the wind, and time trials where you're riding by yourself. Greg LeMond beat Laurent Fignon in the final stage of the Tour de France because it was a time trial, and Greg LeMond decided to try out the aero bars that were, now every rider who rides a time trial or a triathlon uses aero bars now to get that aerodynamic position with the elbow pads and the handles that you hold on to out front, and you get tucked down into that position. You don't ride a time trial without those. Laurent Fignon thought they were just goofy and Stupid. And so he didn't want to use them. He just used bullhorn bars, so his body was out wide and exposed, and Greg LeMond was on a pair of Scott Aero bars that were like a brand new thing that year, and he killed him. He killed that dude. And then everybody was like, oh, we're using Aero bars now, fuck. So aerodynamics has a huge effect on bikes when you're riding by yourself and you're not with a group. Wheels are your number one aerodynamic. Wheels and those handlebars are the two things that you need to go fast when you're by yourself. And if you take a road bike that has regular wheels, just standard 36 spoke back wheel and a 32 spoke front wheel, standard wheels, and you switch to a pair of aerodynamic wheels, you will notice it. The second you get on the bike and you go a quarter mile, you're going to be like, holy shit, that's crazy, the difference it makes. Huge difference. Your average speed will go up 5 miles an hour like that, just by changing your wheels. So the wheels on these expensive bikes are one of the biggest advantages that they bring when you're spending that kind of money. They always say, if you want to get the most performance per dollar, if you're trying to upgrade your bike as a racer and you're just a junior level racer and you're not like rich and you're buying all your own shit, upgrade your wheels. More than any other part of the bike, a proper set of racing aerodynamic wheels will do more for your speed and time than any other thing that you do to your bike, hands down, because there's so much aerodynamic drag that comes from the wheels, the spinning of the wheels, and slicing through the forward momentum, like your movement. A good set of wheels, it'll be like a hot knife going through butter if you get a good set of wheels. But some other technologies will contribute to handling and comfort on these bikes, but and reducing rider fatigue. That's why if I was going on a 800-mile ride, I would take the Red Rocket over the Silver Bullet any day of the week, because the Red Rocket, at the end of the day, it's more comfortable and I'm not going to feel as bad on day 2. That Silver Bullet is more of like a racing setup, and even though it's like a commuter bike, it's more like a road racing bike in terms of, it's like a road racing bike that Specialized turned into a commuter bike, whereas the Red Rocket is a touring bike that Cannondale originally intended to be a long distance touring bike, and so it's designed for that. And so I don't care so much about the weight and some of the other aerodynamic shit and all that kind of stuff, because that bike is more comfortable and I will get a better result in a long distance on that red bike because of the comfort factor alone. So anyway, we've got a bike called the Canyon Aeroad, which is a prominent example of a professional grade bike available to the public, and you see them everywhere. I see them all over the place in the woodlands. Everybody's riding these, but it's favored by teams like Alpecin, Dushnik, and Movistar. I don't even try to pronounce these cycling team names. I think cycling team names are just stupid. They change all the time, and it's just some company, some bank, douche bank, or, it'd be like, they change all the time because it's whoever the sponsor is. That's the name of the team. It would be like if the Pittsburgh Steelers became Team Acrisure, because corporations can buy the team name and not just the name of the stadium. Like nobody fucking knows what Acrisure is, but that's the name of the Pittsburgh Steelers stadium. It used to be Heinz Field when they built their new stadium. Heinz Field. We all know what Heinz is. Heinz ketchup. Heinz is, for those who don't know, their headquarters is in Pittsburgh. That's where the company started. Their original factory is still there. It's apartments now. It's luxury apartments now. But Teresa Heinz Carey, John Kerry's wife, lives in Fox Chapel outside of Pittsburgh, and John Kerry, you know, when he's allowed to be with her, she's the one who wears the pants in that family, just so you know. John Kerry's the cuck who just shows up from time to time. That's her mansion when he comes home at night. It's not his. She's the money bringer, Homer. She inherited the Heinz family fortune when she had or whenever I don't know, it may not have been her, but they killed her husband in a plane crash, Senator John Heinz, and she inherited all the money from the Heinz family fortune after they killed her husband, and then she found John Kerry. Who knows how they met, but all those people, they all live in Pittsburgh. But when it was Heinz Field, everybody knows what Heinz is, and it's a Pittsburgh thing. Heinz is a big deal in Pittsburgh. So that was a cool thing to have, is the name of their stadium in Heinz paid. Well, they didn't want to pay for it anymore. So now it's Acrisure Stadium, and nobody knows what the fuck that even is. Nobody cares. Like that company, I would say it's a bad move for a stupid company that nobody gives a fuck about to buy the name of a stadium, and then everybody's like, who the hell are they? I don't care. Who cares? Go Steelers. I'm sure, I don't even know how long that'll last, but there's a team called Kofidus. I don't fucking know what they are. Don't care. I'm not gonna look it up. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about any of these team names. Never have, never will. It's very rare that the cyclists will have a team name that you actually know. Like, there was a Panasonic team back in the 70s. You know who they are. The 7-Eleven had a cycling team. Andy Hampsten used to be the American on that. I think he's the only American who ever won the Tour of Italy. He was the most famous cyclist until Greg LeMond showed up on the scene and won the Tour de France. Because the Tour de France is the one you gotta win if you want people to know your name. You could win the Tour of Italy 20 fucking times in a row, but if you don't win the Tour de France, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares about it. It's like, if you ain't first, you're last, like Ricky Bobby said. And but U.S. Postal was the team for Lance Armstrong, and yeah, everybody knows what it is, but who's a fan? Nobody's a fan of the post office. No, go post office, yeah. Like, I don't even know why America wasted their tax money to help Lance Armstrong cheat, but whatever, it's all in the past. I like team names for like vicious animals, like sharks and bears and tigers and lions and things like that. Like, an animal that would fuck you up should be the name of a team. You know what I'm saying? For a bike racer, it should be a fast animal like the cheetahs, or something like that. Now, I also like team names that get people all offended, like the Redskins, the Indians, things like that. I love that shit. Or even the Washington football team, because everybody was pissed off about that in Washington, D.C. when they had to change the name of their team and they just became the Washington. I wish the Washington football team had won the Super Bowl, having to show up at the Super Bowl with a team name called the Washington football team because they hadn't picked a fucking name yet. But that offended a lot of people, and I was fine with it. I thought it was hilarious because fuck Washington, D.C. They deserve to have a stupid name like that. Fun fact, y'all know how much I like the city of Jamestown, New York, but did you know their semi-pro team name for their baseball team is they're the Skunks. The fucking Skunks. That's the team name for Jamestown's fucking baseball team, like the Skunks. I mean, but the Skunks is an appropriate name for a team in a city that fucking stinks to live in. I mean, come on, you couldn't get any better than that. For whoever came up with that team name for the Jamestown sports teams, you're fucking winner. You're a legend. You're a legend in my book. But anyway, back to the bikes. The Canyon Aerode. It's an aerodynamic road bike known for its sleek lines and aggressive geometry, and they're really fucking loud. These carbon fiber bikes that these riders are on now, they're so fucking loud because they pick up all the vibration from the road, and the carbon fiber frame is like a speaker. It vibrates, and you just hear this, like you hear this loud ass noise. Whenever one of these people's coming up behind me on their bikes through the woodlands, riding on a Canyon or one of these Cervelo or any of these full carbon, super bikes, you hear them coming from a mile away because the bikes make so much fucking noise because of the frame vibrating. My bikes are quiet, man. When I'm riding along, all you hear is the wind. It's all you hear is the wind. You don't hear my hubs buzzing along when I stop pedaling. My freewheel, my cassette, you don't hear it. When you glide on one of these carbon fiber frames, you might need earplugs to ride one of these because they're so freaking loud. Because those frames pick up any little noise and it comes through the frame. Now, with that in mind, if I mounted a speaker and some music to that bike, it would probably amplify the sound from my speakers. If I put a speaker in the water bottle holder and decided to thump some tunes, the bicycle frame itself would amplify the sound and make it even louder because it just picks up every little vibration and amplifies it as you're going down the road. That might actually be cool. But this the Canyon carbon fiber bike is about $10,000, depending on your configuration when you buy it. But achieving a truly identical replica of a team issue bike in the Tour de France isn't even straightforward. You can't just buy it from the company. You know how I've always said, if you watch this channel, that when you buy a bicycle from a manufacturer, Specialized, Cannondale, Giant, Trek, whatever the company is, all you're really buying from that company is a frame and sometimes a fork. Everything else attached to that bike comes from a handful of manufacturers. SRAM, Shimano, Campagnolo, maybe some other off-brand or different components. Like for mountain biking, a front shock would be probably a Rock Shocks, or there's a few other brands. But it's going to come from a handful. So all the top of the line bikes are either going to have SRAM components or Shimano components. Campagnolo is still out there, but most of the pro riders are riding SRAM and Shimano, at least right now. A key difference in the selection is, like I was saying, the wheels. The wheels sometimes cost as much as the bike. So you might buy a $10,000 bike, and then you might buy a set of wheels that cost $6,000. I mean, and throw the wheels away that came with you don't throw them away, but those are your spare wheels. Professional teams will have sponsorship agreements that dictate the equipment that they have on their bike. So Alpecin, Dushnik, or whatever they are, they use Shimano wheels, while the same bike offered to consumers, that Canyon, if you buy it, you're going to get DT Swiss wheels instead of Shimano wheels. But that's all because of sponsorship deals. So if you're on Team Douchebag in the woodlands here in Texas, and you're not happy that the wheels, the Shimano wheels that came on your $10,000 Canyon carbon fiber bike, aren't the same wheels of Team Alpecin Dushnik in the Tour de France, you might need to shell out another couple $1,000 just to get the wheels so that they match your favorite team, if that's what you're into. And it's not necessarily even a downgrade, it's just a different brand of wheel. DT Swiss wheels are good. Performance, durability, aerodynamics, but if you want to have the same bike as the Movistar team in the Tour de France, you'd have to change over to the Zip 454 NSW wheels. And those are about $900 to $1,000 for a set of those. So if you want to mimic the pros, and like if you're just some rich asshole in the woodlands trying to, you want to have the same bicycle that, your favorite rider in the Tour de France rides, so that you can ride around your neighborhood and show off to all your friends, replicating the whole setup. It's not just the $10,000 you spent on the bike. You need to get a power meter if it didn't come with one. Some of these bikes now come with power. See, all this bullshit with the subscription model things that are happening now. There are bikes out there that they're selling that'll come with a power meter, and then you have to pay a subscription fee to use the power meter that was on the bike that you fucking bought. You have to pay a monthly fee to use the equipment that you bought and supposedly own. I mean, what if they have a shifter subscription? Because all these electronic derailleurs and shifters, what if you need to pay for a subscription, and if you miss your monthly payment, your derailleur stops shifting? Like that's what they're fucking trying to do on these modern bicycles. But a high quality power meter is about $1,000 to $2,000 for that. I don't have one. I have my heart rate monitor from Garmin. It's a cheap one. It's basically the same as a Fitbit, just uses the Garmin app, which I like better than Fitbit. I bought Garmin for a reason over Fitbit. I had bad luck with a couple of Fitbits, and I bought a Garmin, and I like it way better. There are differences. They're both good, but I like the Garmin more, and I've had this for a long time. I have a speedometer on the Red Rocket, a wireless speedometer that sits there that'll tell me how fast I'm going and whatnot. And I have a mount to put a cell phone, so I can run different apps on the cell phone while I'm riding. I can put Google Maps up and see where I'm going and all that kind of stuff, because that bike is more the Red Rocket's the bike I'm going to take if I have to go somewhere I've never been before, because I can mount my phone on it and I can plug in and I can see where the hell I'm going, use Google Maps and other navigation tools. If you're in the woodlands and you're buying you're spending $10,000 on a bike and all this other stuff, you're going to get a professional bike fitting session. So that's $300 to $600 to have a professional bike fitter adjust everything on your bike so it exactly fits your body. The closest thing I ever do to that is fitting it myself. And tinkering over a long period of time, and I've been cycling for a long time, so I'm not completely dumb when it comes to doing that. And sometimes I can get a cyclist who's riding with me, a friend, to look at me and say, hey, how do you think my bike fits? That's about the closest I've ever come to having a professional bike fit, and that's the closest I'm ever going to come. You're going to need pedals and shoes. The bikes don't come with that shit. So you're going to need about $400 to $800 there for a top tier pedal and shoe system. So my shoes were like $200. The pedals were probably $150, but I already had those when I came here. And when I bought one of the appeals of the Silver Bullet, when I bought that bike, they had the exact same pedals that my Red Rocket has, the exact same pedals. And I thought that was awesome because it's like I can just click right in. They weren't even a different. They weren't even a different tier of SPD pedals. They were the exact same pedal. But the shoes were like $200. The pedals were probably, I'm guessing, $150. The cleats were about $25, and that's my kit. So you're looking at $375 right there just for shoes, cleats, and pedals. If you're a douchebag in the woodlands, your shoes probably cost $400. Your pedals probably cost $250 to $300, and your cleats are probably $30 to $50 depending on where you go. But the shoes, I can tell you right now, if you're gonna get into cycling and you actually want to ride, the most important part of your bike is the shoes you put on your feet. hands down. Like there's no other. I know I said wheels are the most important thing you can put on your bike to make your bike faster, and that's true. That's on your bike. Shoes are the most important thing to put on you. Nothing will make your speed improve and your cycling efficiency. Nothing will make anywhere even close to the difference that a pair of cycling shoes and proper pedals and cleats will make. It's not even a comparison. Riding a bicycle with sneakers versus cycling shoes is like two different things. They're not even in the same planet. I don't fuck around with shoes. I might get a cheap pair of shoes because my shoes are starting to kind of scare me a little bit in terms of I don't think they're going to fall apart yet, but they're starting to get beat on. And, but it's like skiing. Your ski boots, the boots that you put on your feet when you go skiing, are more important than any other thing when it comes to skiing. No other thing. If you are going to get into skiing or try it out, boots are the number one. If your boots don't fit right, you can't ski. You won't enjoy it. You'll hate every minute of it. Boots are the number one thing. Nothing else will do anything for you. It doesn't matter how much you spent on your skis. You can get a shitty pair of skis that are 30 years old. If you have good boots, you'll be a good skier. If you have shitty boots and you have really nice skis, you're not going to be able to ski worth a damn. I've been there. I went through a few pair of boots before I found a pair of ski boots that fit me perfect, and then that changed everything. People who travel to ski, like if you were going to fly to Colorado to go skiing for a weekend, and you don't want to bring your own skis on the plane, you don't want to pay the luggage fees or whatever, you're still going to bring your own boots. And then when you go to the ski lodge to rent skis, you've got your own boots. So you're just renting skis and poles at that point, and some other, that's basically it. And the skis that you rent at the ski places are nice. They're not garbage skis. They have to have nice skis. It's all liability and insurance and whatnot. They pretty much buy brand new skis every year at the ski resorts. So you can try out really nice skis, but your boots will fit pretty much any ski ever made. The boots, you don't have good boots, you won't ski. That's the key right there. It's the same with bicycling. If you don't have good bicycle shoes, forget it. I mean, yes, you can ride around town with your flats on pedals. Some downhill mountain bike racers ride on flat pedals. They don't use bicycling shoes. Others do. There is a mix in the downhill racing game. Some people like to be locked into their pedals when they go. Some people like to have flat feet and wear basically, Converse shoes and shit like that, and have flat pedals that are like a BMX style. And I think it's where you came from. If you came from the BMX world, you're probably going to have that BMX style pedal and shoe, wearing a pair of Vans and a flat pedal. And if you came from cross-country mountain biking or you came from road racing, you're going to want to feel like you're locked into your pedal. I would never want to ride a bicycle with flat pedals and some fucking Vans. That's for sure. I wouldn't feel comfortable at all. Custom apparel, like I was saying, the clothing, the team issue jerseys, shorts, and socks, just that's another $500 to $1,000. Like I said this in another video, but this article is telling you that's what the stuff costs. So when you remember the price of those uniforms, so I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a long time. But when you see these douchebags riding around in the woodlands, riding around in their goofy ass Lance Armstrong outfits, that they paid over $1,000 just for their outfit for the day, let alone the $5,000 to $20,000 they spent on their bicycle. So, and a lot of these people, they just go for a little cruise around the neighborhood just so all the other rich people in the neighborhood can, like, it's like they're showing off to each other. Just like when they buy a new Porsche and they want to drive it around so everybody can see them driving in it. my Red Rocket bicycle was not only free, but I made $200 after I bought it by selling stuff that it came with. So I got paid to have that bike. It was almost like having a sponsorship. My Silver Bullet was $300. It was a $1,200 bike when it was new. It's almost a brand new bike, I swear. I love that. This bike is so close to new. I got it for $300. It is a few years old. I think it was a 2005. And I spent, that's how much I spent on the bikes I spent a few $100 changing out the drivetrain on my Red Rocket. And it was a huge improvement. The bike rides so much better now, but my 2 bicycles and stuff that I've done to them and all the maintenance this year still costs less than a Lance Armstrong douchebag outfit worn by some doctor turned weekend warrior in the woodlands going out on his 10-mile Saturday morning ride to show off his fancy bicycle to his neighbors. That's why they get pissed when a guy like me in regular clothing, carrying a backpack, riding a 30-year-old bicycle comes flying by on the trail, and that's why we get into these races. And sometimes they beat me because you're on a $30,000 bike and you're not carrying a backpack and you're all aerodynamic and whatnot. So I mean, it is harder for me to keep up with somebody just because of their clothing and bicycle and their shoes and everything. Like, they're dialed in for speed, but I hold my own against these people. But I don't make friends with them because they're all snobby. All of them. They're just fucking snobby. But the whole package here, it brings the total investment of a Team Woodlands douchebag rider is like 12 to 15 grand bare minimum to get into that club. I mean, that's, you can get a decent car for that much on the used car market. A bicycle like that back in the day, it would last a long time. But now these things are made like everything else to be disposable. So you saw on these modern bikes, you'll have a bolt. If a bolt strips out, or a little plastic cover for something cracks or falls off or whatever, you're going to need a brand new bike, because the company won't make that custom part anymore after like a year or two after you buy the bike. You won't even be able to get the spare part anymore that broke. Your water bottle cage, your special your water bottle cage that's made specifically for that bike, and it snaps, like you get into a crash and that snaps off. Oh well, you'll just need to shell out 20 grand for another bike, because either that or you'll have to carry a Camelback to drink your water from now on, because you know what I mean, like your carbon fiber seat post breaks in a crash. Well, you're out 20 grand because you're going to have to buy a whole new bike because, we don't make that seat post anymore. You're going to have you'll have a hell of a time finding. That's what people are popping up with on, you'll see it all over Reddit and other forums. Somebody will have a $10,000, $15,000 bike and it needs one part, and they can't find the fucking part anywhere on the internet, and the company told them to go pound sand when they try to get it from the company. It needs like just a tiny little part, and they're fucked, and you can't ride the bike because that part is crucial, and you're basically screwed, and you have to go buy another fucking bike. And that's how, like, they're building cars like that now. It's not any different than when you buy a Tesla and you have a perfectly good, capable, functioning car with nothing wrong with it, but it needs a new battery, and the battery costs more than the fucking car. So you have to go buy a new fucking car because it needs a battery. Like, somebody's got to put a stop to this shit. That's what I'm... All these fucking Democrats that love the environment. Do you love landfills full of electric cars that are perfectly fine vehicles to drive, but nobody can drive them because nobody can afford to replace the battery? I mean, seriously, like, if you want the electric car so bad, you got to do something about this shit, because that's probably That's one of the biggest reasons why people won't buy them. The people that do buy them are just, they have money. Number one, money is not an object. People that buy electric cars right now are going to get rid of them in a few years before the battery goes dead. They don't care. Nobody who buys an electric car is the kind of person who's going to keep a car for I buy a brand new car, I'm driving that bitch till the wheels fall off, like until the engine falls out, till the rust underneath the vehicle, until I'm driving that thing around like Fred Flintstone with both feet on the ground because the floor rusted out and there's a big hole in the bottom of it. I'm buying the car for that. That's how long I want to keep my car. Or until the monthly repair bill becomes more than a car payment. But these electric cars, they last forever and they're very mechanically sound, but the battery goes dead and that's it. It's over. Game over. You're done. You need a new car. That's not sustainable. People aren't going to go for that shit. But, owning a high performance road bike has benefits. They're lighter, stiffer, and more aerodynamic than entry-level models, and it will make you faster than you will be faster on that bike than on a cheaper bike. And it's, but a professional grade bike isn't going to turn you into a professional racer. You might not even be able to win a local Woodlands douchebag race on a nice bike like that. All the other ones are going to be on the same bike as you, number one. But maintenance-wise, these things are a fucking nightmare. I watched a video once on truing a wheel on one of these Cervelo, they have carbon fiber spokes, big, thick, rims, carbon fiber rims. And so to true a wheel that gets out of alignment that's going like this, you're looking at like 8 hours sometimes, because you've got it takes 5 minutes on my bike and I don't even have to take the wheel off the bike to do a good job. But on one of these pro bikes, you got to take the wheel off, you got to take the tire off. It's a tubeless tire probably that's going to have all this gunk and sealant that you have to deal with. Then there's tape around the rim that creates an air seal, because there's no inner tube. It's like a car tire. It's tubeless. And so then you gotta get a big long spoke screwdriver that goes into the holes to access the spokes and tension all the spokes and get the wheel all straight again. And there's some shit that you gotta deal with aerodynamic spokes. The spokes have to be facing a certain direction. So when you're turning the spoke nipples, you've also got to have something that holds onto the spokes so that the spokes don't get twisted. But after you get the wheel straight, you have to put tape around the rim, seal it from air leaking out. And then you got to put your tire back on, put air in your tire. And just the simple act of putting air in your tire might throw the wheel out of balance again. And then you have to go through the whole process again, take the tire off, take the tape off, go through, true the wheel again, get it all back together and all that. And then you've got to put sealant in and make sure that the wheel is balanced and all these other things. And it's fucking crazy. It's a ton of work just to true a wheel. Now, these wheels don't go out of true as easily as the wheels on my bike will, but maintenance is a nightmare on these things. And what happens if you forget to charge up the batteries in your electronic derailleurs while you're going down the road? You get stuck in your highest gear because you don't have any battery left and you can't shift anymore, and you're stuck in your highest gear and you got to climb a hill. You're screwed. You can't shift anymore because they're wireless and electronic, and it needs batteries in order to do that. No amount of carbon fiber is going to save your fat ass if you can't shift into the right gear to go up a hill. And to maintain these bikes, like if I had an $8,000 Cervelo whatever the fuck bike, I'll probably need $1,000 worth of tools just to do basic maintenance on it at this point. They're all brand new specialized tools just for that bike, and it'll blow your mind. There won't be a single bolt or screw on that bike that I don't need a torque wrench for. Like, I don't use a torque wrench on bicycles. I know, I can tell by feel how tight it should be or how loose, like, I know what you don't fuck with a bolt on a carbon fiber, $10,000 carbon fiber bike without a torque wrench that clicks when you put enough torque on that bolt. If you don't use a torque wrench, you'll end up cracking these dainty little carbon fiber frames. And you're out, $4,000 for a new frame because you broke the carbon fiber. You tighten your seat clamp too tight. Snap! Done. And then they've got hydraulic disc brakes. Those are harder to maintain than, cable-based brake systems. If something goes wrong with now it's rare, but if something goes wrong with a hydraulic disc brake out on a bike ride, you're getting a ride home from Uber or something like that. There are things I can do. Traditional cable pulled brakes and derailleurs are more friendly for long distance bike rides in terms of if something goes wrong on the side of the road, you're more likely to be able to fix it, and you're definitely more likely to be able to find a store that you can get something to fix it with. Like, if my brake cable went bad, where's the closest Walmart? They'll have cables there, or a bike shop, or whatever, but in a pinch, you might be able to find a brake cable or a gear cable at Walmart and get yourself back on the road. You're not going to get the Shimano Di2 electronic shift battery for your rear derailleur if it dies on a long ride. You're going to have no gears for the rest of your ride. You won't even be able to take your wheels off on a modern road bike without an Allen wrench because they have through axles and they don't have quick release levers anymore. That's for safety and for other things, and it's a little bit more aerodynamic and a little bit, they're not bad to take off, but you watch the Tour de France mechanics now, they've got drills. They use drills with an Allen key on them to take riders' wheels on and off with. They're just like, zoop, pop the wheel off, put the new wheel on, zoop, back on. There's no more lever to close with your hand. But anyway, a lot of these people, they purchase these bikes, especially the rich people that buy these just for the enjoyment of riding and having that connection with their sport that they love so much. The feeling of riding on a bicycle, similar to the ones that you see riding in the Tour de France. It's kind of like the same feeling of getting into a Ferrari when you're poor, right? It's almost impossible for a poor person to even sit in a Ferrari, like a poor person like me. I've never sat in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. I've sat in a few cool cars during my day, but like to just to get to sit in the seat of a Ferrari and be like, wow, I'm sitting in a Ferrari. Like, that's a once in a lifetime experience for poor people, let alone fucking driving a Ferrari even once. The closest a broke ass poor person can get to doing that is to become a valet at an expensive restaurant in Los Angeles or whatever, in Hollywood, and pulling Ferraris and Mercedes and Beamers and Lamborghinis in and out of the parking lot before handing the keys back to the rich douchebag that's going to drive away in it. So, but anyway, I've taken up a lot of your time today. I didn't think this whole Tour de France thing was going to go that long, but it did. And so with that, I got plenty of stuff to do today, but I am definitely a little more with it mentally right now than I was when I started shooting this video. A little bit of coffee and just waking up, and I feel a little bit better. I'm gonna soak in the tub later today. But anyway, tomorrow, even though it'll be next week when you see this, probably, I'm going to start doing live streams on Thursdays for a couple hours. I'll have the window of a couple hours from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. If nobody shows up, I'll talk for a little bit. You know, I'll just make a video out of it, and I'll come with something to talk about. And if people show up and we get into a chat and we hang out, then that's cool. I don't expect people to really, you know, if you don't know about it, you're not going to show up. But I will do it Thursdays. Same time, same thing. I'll keep it consistent so that you'll just know. And if you want to jump in, you want to say, hey, what's up? I'm there. And if then that should satisfy the people who want the latest up-to-the-minute updates of whatever's going on today. Maybe I'll even shave because I can't take it anymore. I might even have a haircut by the time that happens tomorrow. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. I'll see you around. Peace out.